morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time of day it is that you're listening or watching this latest episode of Turfcast podcast with myself, Joe Redmond, and as usual, Simon Townley, who it's not even news anymore. Everyone knows he's home and he's well. Well, he's better, but he's back home anyway. How you doing, mate? Anyway,
good, thanks, mate. All the better. Another sort of like good result to cheer on, and obviously a bit disappointed with the reaction of other teams, unfortunately, European last dramas. But it's I'm all good, mate. It's nice to have one defeat in 14. I can't think I've ever said that before in the Premier League, especially.
No, it is a bit of a shame. It's still the same people that are sort of like saying that they didn't want us to get into Europe, but we've discussed that about 4 or 5 times on the podcast, so we won't go back into that one again. Everyone knows how me and Simon feel about it, but we won't go into it apart from Simon just throwing his opinion on it there. Go on.
I'm glad. I'm happy. Oh yeah, but thank God we didn't get it. Thank God. Like it's some sort of like relegation battle.
I know.
It's a bizarre one, isn't it? I mean, I can understand the reactions I'm seeing is as if we've just survived on the last day.
I just don't get it myself either. I just don't understand it. But like I said, we've discussed it anyway. Let's talk about the Norwich game then, because that was the game just gone. Norwich 0, Burnley 2. Go.
Again, I said before the game it'll be a difficult one. I don't think having 9 men made it necessarily easier in an attacking sense. It just made it less of a threat to lose.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? If that makes any sense to anybody listening.
I understand. I think for the majority of Premier League sides, that wouldn't have been the case. It would have been better in an attacking sense, even though I understand what you're saying because they just sat behind the ball. So I get that part to it. That's what you mean. They just sat behind the ball and they never intended to attack as soon as they went down to 9 men. But your Leicesters, I know they're a good side. So that's a different example. But even your Villas, I think would have had a lot of joy against a 9-man Norwich side, more than what we can get against, because we're built to attack via set pieces and free kicks, and that doesn't matter whether there's 9 men on the pitch or 11 men. So I understand your point, but I think the majority of Premier League sides would have had more joy against them.
Yeah, absolutely. I just think Norwich would have had 9 men behind the ball majority of the game, regardless of having to send it off. So it didn't make much of a difference from us in attacking sense. Good to get the goal, Chris Wood again. It's good to see him. Sorry, getting one goal there. Good to see him sort of get a goal. Whether it come off his shin, I suppose it kind of ruined the romance of the finish. But I was buzzing for him. And then I don't know really. The game kind of just fizzled out for me. The emotion of it had gone. Once or two sending off and the goal, that were kind of the game over. Really, it weren't even entertaining after that. But no, I'm buzzing, mate. It's another good 3 points on the road, which is even more important, really. It's keeping that away form going. I remember the early seasons of the Premier League, and we didn't get one win until I think the final away day of the season.
I'm not sure if it was final away day season. I'm obviously referring to that 4-1 win at Hull. If I remember rightly, it was in like March or April. But yeah, it took a long time. It definitely took a long time.
So I mean, bloody hell, if we can get one more point, what a season that is. Just one more point. Let's break that record of Premier League points. And to do that with such a minimal squad in lockdown, the circumstances of lockdown. And, I mean, who knows? Lockdown seems to have done us a favour. It seems to have helped us. Momentum, because the games are so close together, momentum's in his favour. It's been incredible for us.
Yeah, I agree with that. Obviously, we're in decent form before lockdown as well, but obviously since then. And I think it's... in a weird way, we'll carry on chatting about the Norwich game, but just in a minute, I just think in a weird way, I think all the injuries and stuff has kind of helped us because it's brought Brownhill in, which has done well. Now, obviously, the injuries to Lawton, who else is it as well? Ben Mee and things like that, and Barnsley haven't helped us. Taylor as well. Yeah, of course, Taylor is one of the best players. Haven't helped us in a quality sense, but I just think it helps create this sort of like, right, we need to battle and get back to basics now, and that's what we're best at when we play back. When we do a back to basics game, where this is why people criticise it. That's when we're at our best. If we try and play open, expansive football, that's when we're not at our best. So I think it just helps the game plan because we go back to basics, and that's what we do.
I think it's helped us force the rotation that you would need in these scenarios, and that rotation would never have happened should these players not have got injured. But I think your bigger clubs would have rotated for the amount of games that we played in a row, but obviously Daesh would never have done that without injuries.
No, I agree with that. Also in the game, there were the 2 red cards as well. Like you said, you've made reference to them already. You said that Norwich are down to 9 men. But what I was surprised about these 2 red cards is, well, first of all, my opinion was they were both red cards. Your opinion is?
One was 100% doubt in the world. Second one was a bought red card for me.
See, I can't get that at all. No way in hell is that bought. Yeah, I'm presuming you're talking about the Westy one.
It's professional.
But it's still a red all day long. It's still a red all day long.
He's put his elbow there, thinking you throw your head up at me, I'm going to elbow you. And Wesley's gone up and just thrown his elbow into. He's not necessarily thrown his head into the elbow. That's the wrong way of saying it. But as soon as his head has touched the elbow, he knows what's happening.
Yeah, he knows what's happening because he knows that if he doesn't do it, then it probably won't be a red. But the fact that it's still a red though. It's still 100% a red because of the way that the guy has his arm there. I think we discussed it on the watch along, but we'll do it again. Has his arm there, look at me scar there, everybody. That's from when I fell over once. Has his arm there, looks at Westy, then does that. That is 100% because it's intense.
There's a massive intention there, absolutely.
Intent and a red.
But it's interesting how I see 4 angles of it. I think there was on the replay, and 3 of them I were like, I don't know. And then that one angle, and I mentioned it in the watch along, that one angle just says, it's a red card. And if you only ever see it from that angle, it's 100% a red card. And it's good because in Burnley's favour for once, VAR is going to actually just look at this angle when we've seen it before on replays where they show you certain angles and you think, I don't know. But they never even showed him that angle. They just said, listen, just look at this one. And
I think the reason why they did that is because if it's 100% a red card from one angle, it doesn't matter what it looks like from any of the other angles. It's still 100% a red card. And then because on that angle that you're referring to, I presume it's the one where he has his arm, he then turns to look at him, then puts his arm into his head. Therefore, that's 100% red card all day long, as we've said.
I'm intrigued. 100% red card all day long. Why have VAR haven't just said it's a red card and he's elbowing it back at head? Why have the referee suddenly in the last 2 games started going to the VAR?
I'm not sure on that point. You'll have to ask the actual referee in the VAR. But my guess is that the fact that the referees know that they've been told to use the screen more often, and therefore they're trying to get used to it now in the latter stage of this season, so they can do it more next season. Because they've come into a lot of criticism for not using that screen. And then there's the second red card as well. I can't remember the lad who got sent off, but he's lunging in over the ball off the ground. 100% red again for me.
100%. There's just the aggression, the sort of like frustration behind it. He knows he's lost control and he's thinking it's just that typical fuck off in it. You're not having it, and then he's just gone into it. And I think you got to feel sorry for sort of like the Norwich manager there. I've got Farrell's name, but he's
Parker. You fucking idiot.
That frustration and the thing, and then your manager's got to sit there and look at all this happening, and you just think, why do I fucking bother? They can't even keep their heads down.
No, I think it's one of them where they've given up. They're already down. Some players at the end of the season show fighting spirit and do really well. Look at us that year. We got relegated in 2010 when we beat Tottenham at final day of season and things like that. But obviously these ones have given up in the sense in a different way. They don't want to show fighting spirit. They just want to give up and get on holiday. Look at it.
And that's why I feel sorry for the manager, because if your players can't be out, I said, what can you do?
The 2 lads that got sent off, they don't need to play a final game at season now. They obviously didn't want to play it.
Yeah, true. Holiday's gone, and it sort of put the flats.
Might get an extra week now because of the season being how it's been. But yeah, overall as well, there was the own goal as well. What did you make of that? I've just watched it back myself, obviously doing the little bit of research that I do before a podcast. Literally watch a 3-minute YouTube video. But I think it's terrible.
It's tired, weren't it?
Yeah, it's terrible, but you can see what he's trying to do. He's trying to just do a nice, easy pass back to Krul. But cruelly for him, he's kicked it into the back of the net.
I saw it coming. I could hear it coming.
You see my face getting excited.
That's what I usually dive in on them, and now I know how you feel. But it were cruel for the result of it. But he has just tried to give it back. I think it's just a tired sort of stick a leg out and let it hit him rather than a control. Yeah,
but that's it for obviously the Norwich game. We've still got to chat about the Brighton game. I'll just quickly have a look at the league table because we are now in 9th thanks to the results this weekend. Because Villa, who now looks like they're staying up miraculously, beat I just can't see him losing against whoever they've got to play on final day. I can't remember who it is now. West Ham, they've got nothing to play for. But we're in ninth position now. Arsenal 10th. Arsenal on 53 points. We're on 54. Sheffield United on 54 in 8th. Tottenham on 58. So we can only finish 8th. I say only, that's obviously brilliant. But I'm saying
it's just
even with a win
frustrating
at
to
the
get
weekend,
the most points and only finish 8th.
Yeah, even with a win at the weekend, that the highest we can finish is 8th. But it's still, like you said earlier, it's still a fantastic season. Even if we only get a point, even if we get beat, man, we've joined
to equal
the points record. You know what I mean? And yeah, it is a shame that we didn't finish 7th for me and you, and for the non-negative. I won't say normal. The non-negative. I don't want to alienate an entire section of the Clarets fan base. But yeah, I think that when you look back to the season 7, is a lot of teams didn't perform that season. Like, we did really well, but a lot of teams didn't perform that season. We finished above Leicester, we finished above Everton, we finished above teams that we shouldn't necessarily have finished above. Just like we have done a little bit this season in Everton again and Arsenal.
Everton, Arsenal. Spurs aren't barely there.
No, if we win on the final of the season and Spurs lose, we'll finish 1 point behind them.
Yeah.
So there you go.
I'm saying they're barely there, is what I mean.
Yeah, but yeah, it is a shame. But it's another season that we can look back on with great positives, especially after last season, and sort of like the position that we finished weren't too bad in the end, but a lot of the negativity surrounding it and a lot of looking over his shoulder and stuff, especially in the first half of the season. So it's good to improve again and push on, and hopefully we can do that again next season. But I'm sure you'll obviously echo them sentiments of it being a class season.
Oh, massively. I mean, if we can start adding to the depth of the squad as well, that would be even more important, because we say, we haven't got the squad for it, we haven't got the depth for it, etc. That's all well and good, mate. But getting into Europe entices them players to come to you. It entices the players to stay another year that might be in bench this year. That you think, you want to keep them coming. You want to keep them staying, because Burnley's not. We've discussed this before, but Burnley's not necessarily one of them clubs that people will be happy to sit on the bench and wait for the chance for in the Premier League, because Sean Dyche isn't renowned for his rotational decisions and things like that. So, getting into Europe does entice these players to think, okay, I'll give it another year and bring more in.
Yeah, I think I'll look back on that season where we finished 7th and we didn't really attract. I don't think we did enough in the summer of that season to sort of like right, we are Burnley, we're now a European club. We need to be bringing in. Who did we bring in? Ben Gibson at the time. Yeah, that were a good signing. It hasn't worked out. Trying to think of other people we brought in.
Hart.
Yeah, Hart weren't a bad shout, actually. Again, It didn't work out. At the time, I thought it were a good signing. So maybe I'm being a little bit harsh there when I say I don't think they did enough, but I'll stand by it in the sense that they should have been sort of like saying, right, we are Burnley. We're not necessarily going to throw 100 million quid at a market, and I don't think they'd have done it again, but they should have been definitely attracting some players that could have been in the squad for quite a few years.
But like you said, that this is going back to the sort of like original point of, would we have been able to entice or even warrant the board and say to him, listen, I want to sign this £40,000 to £60,000 a week goalkeeper bench for the season, when if we didn't have the European thing to fill the space, would we have been able to get £15 million for Gibson to say he might not be in the squad for a year though? You know what I mean? That hasn't been done before, and I certainly don't think it'll be done again. We won't be getting £15 million players that have to wait. Let's put it that way.
No, I'd agree with that. But I still think I think it's one of them now. I think this summer everyone knows there's a bit of a job that we have to do to try and solve the ageing squad. I won't say crisis. Try and solve the ageing squad issue. We need to do it this summer, or start doing it this summer, so it doesn't become a massive issue next summer, and then we have to do a Villa and rehaul the entire squad. So there is some work to be done. But I think now that we've had this decent season, I think it shows that we can say to potential players from maybe your Brentfords in the Championship have done well. The obvious guy whose name I don't want to try and pronounce at the top of my head. I can't remember his name. I think that's what it is. But people like that as well, and even like the relegated clubs as well. Like Aki's gone to City, and I'm shocked at that. I would have had him here as cover, but someone like Aki ain't going to sit here for cover. But he will sit here for cover. But that's obviously the point that you're making. Yeah.
And things like Tarky and that. You know what I mean? If these clubs above us, we'll say, not the bigger clubs, but if these clubs above us say, like, oh, come here, you can play in Europe next year, it's so tempting for players that don't get that opportunity much, especially the Burnley 11, that probably never envisaged getting into Europe in the first place, never mind getting a second stab at it.
Yeah. Especially, yeah, like it's mainly for me your Talkies and your Dwights as well. If
Yeah.
we can sit there and say, look, we're in Europe, been in Europe for the last 2 out of the last 3 seasons. Why would you want to leave to go to like your Newcastles or your Palaces? Yes, granted, in Newcastle's case, especially, they might be a bigger club that attract bigger crowds, but we can offer you more in terms of competitions and things like that. But yeah, interesting points there. There was something that you did mention the other day on the phone, saying that you did want to talk about. You're looking very, very confused because
I forget things.
I haven't reminded you. You said you wanted to make a point of maybe the fans not being here has helped us.
Yeah, I mean, I'm intrigued because I was saying like there's your headline, by the way, that Burnley fans not being here has helped us. But the actual context of it were we were looking at a relegation battle and we were saying this is a time where that club, like Watford, need the fans behind them. They need them screaming and shouting and giving them that extra 10%. And I'm saying that without them, I think it makes the problems worse. But when you've got no fans like Burnley haven't, and we're on this momentum, and there's no moans and groans, and there's no sort of negativity when it's not quite working, and then, like you said, we're going 1-0 down in some games, and we're clawing it back against Liverpool. And if them fans aren't there, and that equally means the Liverpool fans aren't there, cheering on their team who've just got 1-0 up and they're begging for blood and saying, right, come on, let's kill them off. I don't think that having fans has actually harmed us in any way, shape or form. I think that some part of that actually could have been a positive.
I think because there's not been that much to play for. Yes, a lot of people will argue and say, well, obviously we did have Europe to play for, but that was never a target as such. The target was to stay clear of relegation, and we'd already done that. So I think a lot of the reason why we've done so well in the last few games is mainly because the pressure's off. Essentially, the pressure's off, and like you said, some of the injuries have helped with the rotation and things, and the Jeff Hendrick leaving the club ended up being a blessing in disguise. But that's something we'll discuss in a few minutes, because obviously Brownell's come in and done well. So I think there's a few factors. I won't say it's necessarily helped. I don't know. It's one of the. I can understand what you're saying in terms of. You're right there. In terms of sort of like the moans and groans. Because
let's put it this way. Let's put it into context. Right? If you have Chris Wood do an overhead kick against Wolves, completely misses the ball, after just doing an header that's just the easiest header he should have ever scored. Is he going to try and do an overhead kick again the week after at Norwich? Probably not. He's probably going to think, I'm not fucking doing that again. If all the fans are like on your back, it might make you think twice. I'm just saying that maybe it just makes you play a bit more free-spirited, not having to worry about reactions as much.
Yeah, I think I definitely agree with the free-spirited thing, but I'd argue that that's come from the pressure being off with the relegation rather than the fans not being there.
I think they both were. But like I said, this is what I'm saying. The fans can add that pressure back to you because they demanded a performance, like the Liverpool fans would have demanded a performance against Burnley. And I'm saying it's equal. Like home fans for Liverpool not being there would have helped Burnley.
Yeah, I think in the games against Wolves and Liverpool away, it's definitely helped us with their fans not being there, because the fans, Molineux especially, it's a tight ground, they get on top of you. It's similar to the turf, but just bigger, better and more modern. And Anfield's exactly the same. It's just the same as Molineux. It's tight ground, bigger, better, again, more modern. So it's one of them. I think in them 2 games, but not necessarily as much at home. I don't know, maybe because I'm a fan, I'm trying to argue for the fans, and I want the fans to make a difference in a positive way. I want to be
there, and I want to be there because the fans can equally drag a result out when you're on your arse. And what I'm saying is, when this momentum's going, and we were playing the way we were against Wolverhampton Wanderers, we were fucking moaning and groaning. Lydia watching it on the settees, we were going, "Oh, this is dog shit. This is boring. This is thing," and then we get a result out of it. I'm saying that not necessarily taking that mood in front of the players would have helped.
Let's talk about The Athletic, which is a must for all football fans and has loads of brilliant Burnley content. The Athletic brings you the best coverage of football, combat sports, NFL, NBA and loads more. A world-class team of football writers, including Andy Jones, who covers the Clarets, and it's completely ad-free with no ads and no annoying pop-ups. If you're not signed up to The Athletic yet, fans of Turfcast can now get 50% off the annual subscription price and a 7-day free trial. To get the deal, head to theathletic.co.uk/Turfcast.
Just a quick shout out to our sponsors, Pitch Sport. If you haven't already, please head to the App Store or the Google Play Store to download their app. It's sort of like a fan hub where you can talk to fans from all different clubs and ask questions and choose your teams and predict your results. But this week, because also what we do on the Pitch Sport app is I record a question. Asking you, the Burnley fans, a question and asking for your opinions. And this week we've had our best ever response. I thought that would be the case when I thought of this question, to be honest. I thought it would be one of the controversial one, and that's why I did it. But I asked the Pitch Sport users, and I put it out on the socials as well, if you could choose one player to be in the side, who would you pick between Josh Brownhill and Jeff Hendrick? And if you say both, you have to physically pick some splinters out of your arse live on the next podcast. Go.
I can't say that one is better than the other. I cannot say it. But I'm a big fan of Jeff and what he brought to the table. Brownhill's looking incredible at the minute on the fact that he's not played that much Premier League football, and he's already turning out sort of like performances that he is, including the man of match last one on the Pitch Sport app. Getting the plug there. But yeah, basically, no, I can't do it for me.
Yeah,
I can't pick them out yet.
Again, though, the question isn't who's better. I'm not asking you to say that. I'm saying if you could have one player in that Burnley side against Brighton or at the start of next season, for example, would you rather have Brownhill next to next to Wester, or Hendrick next to Wester? Or maybe Hendrick.
Or Peters out. And then.
Well, I'm just saying, in terms of them two, you can't pick both. Who do you want? Again, if you say both,
right this minute, after a man of the match performance, I will
Mark,
say,
who listens to the podcast, can personally pick some splinters out of your arse if you say both.
He love that. He'd video it. Basically, at this minute, you cannot, and I'm more intelligent as to say that Brownhill should be out over Hendrick, because I would never say that. But I'm saying there's a bigger picture in this, and at this minute in time, Brownhill's doing a job, so you can't take him out. The same way you can't take any of the 11 out that's keep picking results at the minute.
Yeah, well, just before we get on to the next point that raises, I will read out some of the responses, because, like I said, those of you who do respond on the fan time, you are guaranteed to get your response read out on the podcast. So if you sometimes respond on Facebook and not on fan time, make sure you download the Pitch Sport app, so then you're guaranteed to have yours read out. But someone who calls himself Burnley just says Brownhill, so thank you for that, Burnley. Burnley FC latest. Brownhill looks like he's a perfect replacement. He fits into the Burnley team brilliantly. So he's done a Simon Townley and avoided the question for as long as possible. Mark DH76, which I presume is our friend Mark who listens to the podcast, says, as much as I did like Hendrick, Brownhill seems to be a younger upgrade. Brownhills. I did say Brownhill, I think. Mark D's put that twice. Thank you, though, Mark, because that helps it look like it's more popular than what it is. Burnley FP, Josh Brownhill, as he's been quite consistent, and Jeff could be the opposite. Neil Layfield, another friend of the podcast. Good to see Neil in the fan time responses. Haven't really seen enough of Brownhill yet, but from what I have seen, I would say Brownhill. He's more direct, he's faster, and he's more comfortable on the ball. Although, ideally, you'd have both. Hendrick should never have been allowed to run his contract down. I do agree with that last sentence, definitely. I do agree with that last sentence.
Ridiculous business sense.
Chris Harris, another friend of the podcast, he comments on the Facebook quite a lot. Out of the two, I'd choose Brownhill, as he's on lower wages and he's probably a better player. So he's brought a business side into it. However, I still think it's ridiculous that we've let Hendrick go. Yep, I'd agree with that. He was a good servant and he did what he would ask of him. We should have kept both. So a few splinters there from a few people, a few splinters, a few Simon Townley.
So it shows that
the
most common response is both.
On his arm. The most common response was Brownhill, mate. 100%. The most common response was Brownhill. But just going back to the bit where you said you can't take any 11 out then. Someone messaged me on Instagram this week, and apologies if you are listening because I cannot remember your name. But he said to me, "Would you put Jack Cork back in this side or Brownhill?" And I'll say to him, I'll say to you what I said to him, which is exactly what you've just said. Like you can't take any of this 11 out now at the minute, really. But then again, that creates another debate about Ben Mee next season. But if, for example, Corky was fit against Brighton miraculously, who would you have in the side? Brownhill or Corky?
I'd leave it. I'd leave it as it is, 100%.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. I'd
leave
it
I
like
Corky. As a personal side and a football side, I like both. I'm a fan of him. However, no one can argue, not even a professional footballer can argue, that they go mad if it was the other way around.
100%. It's going to be a tough one for Dash next season.
And Long as well. Long's got a right as well.
I was literally just going to say that. Some might say that Kevin Long's got a right to be in that side, but he's not going to replace the captain in the long run, is he? Having said that,
absolutely not.
Eaton did get replaced. But it's one of them. He's got a right. Ben Mee will be in the side on the first day of the season next season, whenever that is. And Jack Corker's also got a right. But so has Brown and so has Kevin Long. So good headaches to have for a change.
Massively. We said this last week about the striking options. I mean, how often have we ever argued which of the four is the better lineup? I don't say decide definite favourite for the whole season. I don't think I've ever been able to do that. But it's the same as the defence. Like you said, we've got players that are stepping up, mate. Peter's stepping up in the Jeff Hendrick role. He's playing wherever they put him. Kev Long, Charlie Taylor's like the best left back that we've had. Probably, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a better left back at the minute. But yeah,
some people might argue Ward, but I'd agree with that. I think Charlie's better
I
than
think
Ward.
Taylor's. Yeah. Anyway, in my lifetime, he's possibly the best left back, and it's easy to say that, and it always baffles me.
What about Mo Kamara?
Say, oh, yeah. He was the most entertaining, like half an hour.
Him and Dean West, what a pair of fullbacks they were.
Bloody hell, they couldn't take a throw in between them.
Dean West like that. Apologies if you're listening on the podcast. I was just doing impressions of Dean West taking throw-ins. If you are listening on the podcast and you want to see my impressions of Dean West taking throw-ins, head over to youtube.com, type in Turfcast Podcast, and while you're there, subscribe, because we are currently stuck on 98 subscribers, and I've been begging for 100 subscribers for the past 3 weeks now. Come on. I get honestly, we get around 300 downloads per episode now, and I've got 6,000-7,000 over Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. But yet only 95 subs on YouTube. So come on, guys, sort it out if you can. Let's push it indeed. But next, I want to talk about obviously the game that's coming up next. Bit of a dead rubber, other than the fact that we can finish 8th. Brighton. Brighton can only go down a position, but obviously, I think the main thing for us, obviously going into the game, is don't concede.
Don't concede. Potential highest record points. There's two subplots to the season.
If you don't concede, you've definitely done it, though, haven't you? So I think if you go into that game and just think, don't concede, then you've achieved both targets. That's all you need to do. Just don't concede, because then you'll achieve the record points. You'll achieve Pope, admittedly probably sharing the Golden Glove at this stage now, thanks to Watford, you useless set of bastards. And
don't have a Watford fan.
I don't have a Watford fan that listens. There's a Watford fan that's been on it. I don't mind Watford as a club and as a fan base, but they are a useless set of bastards for not scoring against City yesterday at the time.
I fell out with Watford, mate. I'm mad at them.
I mean, yeah. Come on, we'll discuss Brighton in a second. I agree with that, man. No. The way that club is run, to be fair, is a fucking shambles. I don't.
Bring back Elton.
And I spoke to the guy, the Watford fan, the other week when we played him, and I said to him, come on, what's all this about, mate? And he said, he sort of said, we feel in Nigel we have that bit of stability, and then 3 weeks later he's gone.
Fucking hell! Honest to God, they're a shambles. I fell out with him. I don't like the way. You can't have a manager who's took you from the bottom to 1 point away from safety.
Started from the bottom, now we're here. Now you're sacked.
All they need is 1 point, and you're playing the biggest club that can turn over, bigger than Liverpool. If City can turn over someone to an embarrassing level,
100%.
And you turn out your manager and put Stack and whoever it were on the bench and say, right, have a go. It's like, what the fuck are you playing at? What were they? It's not the first time they've done it. Weren't it 2 seasons ago? They had 4 managers in a season as well.
They do it pretty much every year, don't they? I think
it's fucking shambles.
I think they do it pretty much every year. I think the season you're referring to, they might have had 3. But Swansea did it as well. Swansea used to do it, not admittedly as much as Norwich and as aggressively as Norwich, but they used to constantly do it. They're constantly looking for that new manager bounce. But because you're getting into this horrible cycle of constantly sacking your managers, that new manager bounce is all you've got. So then you're always just going to keep dropping, and eventually you'll fall out of the Premier League, just exactly like Swansea did. What you need to do is get Sean Dyche in and have him there for 6-7 years, but you had that chance and you fucked it.
The most sort of famous new manager bounce was when Leicester sacked their manager, and then the penalty, obviously. Yeah, brought Ranieri in and then won the league. I mean, you can't get a fucking...
And who did they sack to bring Ranieri in?
Pearson.
Nigel fucking Pearson. There you go. Watford are going to win the league next season, everybody.
Yeah. You heard it here first. Andre Gray, top goal scorer.
But I'll tell you what, we'll just quickly chat about the relegation battle then. So Bournemouth can get out of it if they win and the other two lose. Watford can get out of it. Again, that's not been updated, actually, the league table that I'm looking at.
Yeah, Watford can get out of it should the results go their way, but they've got Arsenal away at Arsenal.
Yeah, they're away at Arsenal. It has been updated, actually.
Who do you want to go down?
See, that's what I'm going to build into. So Bournemouth can get out of it if they win and the results go their way. Watford have to win and hope that Villa don't win. Villa will stay up with a win. Who do I want to go down? For me, Bournemouth look gone. So it's between Villa and Watford. And I think just from a selfish Burnley perspective, I'd say Villa, because Villa are just going to spend another 130, 200 million quid again next season and just improve. Leeds are going to come up. They've already, I think, I've been told that Qatar Airways are going to pump a load of money into them, so they're going to be an absolute fucking joke next season, spending too much money. Admittedly, it doesn't always work. Look at Fulham and Villa to a lesser extent this season. But yeah. I think for a selfish point of view,
a lot of money in that year, didn't they?
I think for a selfish point of view, Villa to go, so we can have Watford in the Premier League next season, who will probably just go next season, and then that's a position taken. Leeds may or may not be in trouble next season. It depends how they do spending all the money, and then obviously we don't know who else has come up. So purely from a Burnley point of view, Norwich, Bournemouth, and Villa.
I want Villa to survive. It's the easy way to say it. It was between them and Bournemouth, because I don't mind Eddie Howe. I think he's done a decent job. It's just bought some terrible players, unfortunately, that ain't paid off. But yeah, I kind of want Villa to stay up. One, because obviously I'm friends with Tom. I don't want him to miss his chance in the Premier League with Villa because of an injury. I want him to have a chance again. And then the last reason is an actual reason, is because my nana and granddad would have looked at them league tables and gone, well, Leeds is only an hour away, we can go there. Yeah, Villa's only 2 hours away, we can go there. Get Watford, Bournemouth and Norwich gone. Perfect.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. There's going to be some good away days next season. Leeds is always a good away day. Villa is a good away day. Bournemouth and Norwich are terrible away days. Mainly just, not necessarily I'm sort of like shitting on their grounds or their atmosphere, mainly just because it's too fucking far away. It's just too far away. I'm not one of these fans that will go to ground and like, oh, this is a dump, what a shithole, I hope they go down. I don't do that. I've been to some shitholes in League Two and didn't mind it. Just Norwich and Bournemouth. I love. Yeah, Norwich and Bournemouth are just. I'll tell you what's a nice ground that looks shit from the motorway, but when you get in it, it's actually all right. It's not the best. It's Walsall, because
it's the only one you can see from fucking motorway.
mainly because you go in and you think, oh, it looks a bit shit this outside, and you go in, it's actually all right. There's some decent areas for like a cameraman or media, and the actual stands aren't horrendous. The press box itself could have done with some like TLC, but no, it's all right. There's some grounds in the lower leagues that aren't horrendous. Go on.
You're scary. Most of your listeners won't have ever been to Walsall. They won't even know that we've ever played them.
You say that, but I think the majority of our listeners are sort of like our age and above. Admittedly, we do have some younger listeners who've probably never even heard of Walsall. It's in Birmingham, guys, if you are wondering. If you drive past it, is it on the M6 still, or is it broken into the another motorway at that point? I think it is still the M6.
M6.
Yeah, you can see the Bescot from the M6.
One of your listeners coming into my shop with his Burnley fan t-shirt. I'm probably hoping there was a Burnley player in at the time, because some of them do that. And then he's coming, he sat there and he's talking about Burnley, and he's like, oh, have you seen so-and-so? I've got a Ria. I'm like, oh, yeah, I can't remember what club he was referring to now. But I said, yeah. And he just slagged it off and went on and off. I thought, what's going on about here? And he said, like, oh, yeah, it's only like non-league clubs have a Ria. I'm like, Burnley had it 10 years ago, mate. But no, they didn't. They didn't believe me. And then I said how old he is. He was like 20. And I thought, oh, fair enough. He'd only been about 10. But I remembered that. I remember every fucking one we've had.
It's one of them, innit? I remember that. I remember who made our kits before I were even born, simply because me and you have got a weird thing at looking at kits, though. And I think just because we're quite big fans, maybe. But would we have known that at 20? Yeah, I'd say I'd have known Marta were making kits when I was 10, when I was 20.
Exactly. And then so that were a funny story. But yeah, Walsall's a ground that most of them won't remember. But I remember Paul Merson coming to turf, and he put a ball down for a corner, and he put it about 2 yards outside the quadrant. I can't believe I remember what that would go. Put it about 2 yards outside it, and then walked out, and the fans just went mental. They were just shouting, jeering it. He just turned around, laughed at us, and rolled it back because they were only trying to take piss out of us. And then as soon as he done it, he started clapping us. And then I remember that as a kid, but like you said, no one will remember Walsall from like under 20.
No, there are some shit grounds in the lower leagues though, like Scunthorpe. It hasn't changed since we were promoted there back in the day. That needs a lick of paint.
Because you're in League Two, aren't you still? So you see it all.
Yeah, working in League Two. But yeah, what else? We've digressed ridiculously.
I like these memory lane stories, though, mate. And like you said, if the fan base is old as us and older, they'll enjoy it as well. I'm sure they'll remember the Paul Merson one if you sat in the lower part of the East Stand.
Yeah, get in touch if you do like our little digressions that mean absolutely nothing to most people apart from me and Simon. And again, if you have them memories, that might mean something to you. But let's chat about the game of the weekend then. Bit of a dead rubber, apart from the fact that I've already mentioned if we keep a clean sheet, we've achieved both our targets. But let's actually talk about the game now. Brighton.
Could be hard.
I had them for relegation at the start of this season, and there were certain areas of the season, even during the lockdown, I was looking at their fixtures, looking at where they were in the league table, and I went on an Arsenal YouTube channel, and they said to me, like, who do you think is going to go? Well, he actually went, who do you think is going to go down? And I said, I think Bournemouth will go down because of the fixtures that they've got. But I didn't like the way they got rid of Houghton and then brought in Potter. And I'm still not a huge fan of his, but he's slowly started to make it work at Brighton. And I think next season they might be quite decent and maybe knocking on the door of the top 12, top 10 potentially, if he can continue to improve and implement his ideas onto the squad, which I think if you look at the course of the season and how they started playing better towards the end of the season, I think his ideas are coming across and they are playing his style and picking up results now.
Some of their football that they've played is actually really, really good. It's like such a modern way of playing it, and it's as effective as most clubs are when they're on the day. Let's put it that way. But they've got some good players. Have they scored as many as they probably wanted them to? For example, your Morpays and stuff like that. But
yeah,
they're a scary club, mate. And then when that's not working, Glenn Murray, you might think he's old and past it, but he's probably a defender's pain in the arse at 75th minute when you've just been chasing him around all game, and then buddy Murray comes on and starts jumping you out. So I think they've got a threat. They're definitely going to be more of a threat than Norwich, even with 11 men at Norwich. But I think this is the one that's going to be the test for Nick Pope. See if hopefully he can get that Golden Glove.
Yeah, well, it's looking like he's going to have to share it, but I've done my research on it, and I was saying to you and the lads on the watch along that it might go down to clean sheets, or that would be an educated guess. Sorry, not clean sheets, number of goals conceded, but it is shared. It is shared, and it's been shared.
Yeah, a glove each.
Yeah, I don't know if you
want left or right.
You just get a trophy each, don't you? Because that's essentially all it
glove
is.
Do you want?
You just get a trophy.
You can't have two rights. You can't have a left and a right.
It's not a glove. Alisson, I've seen a picture of Alisson holding it from last season. It's a picture of a goalkeeper making a save, or it was last season. But yeah, it's a trophy. It's not an actual glove.
Well, what's the Golden Boot now?
I think it is a boot.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, the picture that I saw today of Alisson was him. I'll show you. I'll find you the picture up now. So you chat some bollocks while I find this picture up, please.
How about that? Why would you want a picture of anything? You want a glove? It's Golden Glove Award. It's like Ballon d'Or saying, you can have the letter L. Well, why? It makes no sense. And then also, I still think, should it be shared? If it means that we get a part of it, then absolutely. But I do agree that your logic makes far sense.
Alisson, Golden Glove there. If you're watching on the watch along, not scrolling down. If you're watching on the watch along,
you need to change that then. It just should be called goalkeeper of the year or something.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at some more pictures now of him holding it aloft at the start of this season at Anfield or end of last season, whatever. There's him getting presented it by Cadbury, who sponsor it. There is a picture of him with an actual Golden Glove, but he's wearing a Brazil top. So I think that's from the World Cup or whatever, or the Copa America. But yeah, it's a trophy.
Oh, mate, I don't know. Like, if you see that diving thing, and I went into Nick Pope's house and I've set it up, and I've seen that trophy there, I'd be like, where'd you get? What's that one for, pal? Did you get that at school? Did you get that at Sports Day? But if I seen a Golden Glove, I'm like, fucking hell, have you won Golden Glove, pal? No, not for me.
I get it. It's one of them, innit? I mean, maybe it's because the sponsors have changed. Maybe there's some old pictures of
chocolate
people
glove
in
then.
the past.
And gold foil.
That would be eaten, wouldn't it? Or if you put it on the mantelpiece, it'd melt. And quick question for you: who holds the record alongside Peter Cech for the most Golden Glove awards
in the Premier League? I mean, the obvious guess would be Schmeichel, but I don't know. Schmeichel. Oh, interesting.
Joe Hart. Hart. He's won 4, and so has, who did I say? Petr Cech. He's won 4, and so has Petr Cech. And another interesting stat is, where's it gone now? His eyes saw.
But if Joe Hart will say, I don't know, because Joe Hart's won 4. Do you reckon he still gets buzzing by that sort of I've got 4 Golden Gloves?
I would imagine so. It's something that you look back on with absolute pride, isn't it? Yeah.
But why don't we know about this? That should have been in the club's thing on the website. We've just signed a goalkeeper who's got 4 Golden Gloves.
Yeah, well, maybe they did when I don't read the articles, to be honest. But yeah, here it is. Most awards, Petr Cech and Joe Hart for. Most consecutive wins, so seasons in a row, Joe Hart and...
Go on.
Pepe Reina. There you go.
Pepe.
Fuck, I should have left all that for quiz next week.
Interestingly, when did Pepe Reina win it?
I'll have a look for you.
Because I was shocked, actually, because when you think of Pepe Reina, it was just like a...
Guess why it's not Peter Schmeichel?
Why?
Because it didn't start it till 2004, 2005.
Right.
So Peter Schmeichel probably would have it if it's been done since 1992. But yeah, you're asking me about Pepe Reina. What was the question again, sorry?
When did he win it?
When did he win it? For the first time, 2005, 2006. Then that's when he won it for 3 seasons in a row, all with Liverpool. Then Edwin van der Sar won 1, then Petr Cech won 1, then Joe Hart, Petr Cech, Wojciech Szczesny, Joe Hart, Petr Cech, Courtois, David de Gea, and Alisson. I mean, I'm looking at this, and
that's a serious list of goalkeepers you just named there, by the way.
Nick Pope's going to be alongside them all.
Hopefully.
Jenks touched one. Having said that, I'm reading all this, and it's off the Premier League official website, so it's legit. So I've been asked a few quiz questions recently. Who was the last person outside of top 6 club to win the Golden Glove? And it's always, every time I say Brad Friedel, it's always Brad Friedel. Yeah, but obviously, if it's not been going since 2004, so if it's only been going since 2004, 2005, and his name isn't on that list, when did he win it? How did he win it? Did he win it? Is it a previous?
There must have been an old name for it.
Yeah, maybe potentially.
Clean sheet award.
Clean sheet award. Yeah.
Where you got a Golden Glove as an award.
But we've digressed again. We've pretty much done Brighton though. Now, apart from predictions, what are you going to predict?
I'm going to go 1-0 Burnley, and it's going to be a late goal. Not like late as in 89th minute, but I mean, it won't be. I think we'll be holding the nerves that we're getting us for a while before that goal comes anyway.
Yeah, that's fair enough. That seems legit. I'm going to go 4-0 Brighton. No, obviously not. I'm either going to go 0-0, but I don't want to sit on the fence. I think the aim is to not concede. So I think there will be set
Chris
up.
Wood said it, didn't he?
Yeah, they'll be set up, not necessarily set up tactically, but set up mentally to not concede. So they might just naturally sit back. So that's why I necessarily agree with what you're saying. That's why I think, we could necessarily nick a goal. But I'll retract the word I know, and I'm going to use the word I think, because I don't want anybody to come in and go, you. But I believe that Brighton are not the best at set pieces. So I'm going to go 2-0 Burnley, 2 set pieces, 2 Westy corners, Tarky header, and maybe a Nick Pope last minute. Imagine if Nick Pope came up last minute, darted header in. Obviously, he's not going to do that if trying to keep a clean sheet. If he could score on the day he wins the Golden Glove, that'd be absolutely insane. But I'm going to go 2-0 to the Clarets. Up the Clarets.
It's going to be a perfect game. It's going to be a penalty. Nick Pope's going to step up, save it, counter-attack, go score.
No, that's more realistic. A last-minute penalty save from Neil, how you pronounce it, Morpay. It's going top bins. Nick just goes, no, that's my Golden Glove. And then he checks the results at full time. Norwich have won 4-0 against Man City. Then he cries. And all Burnley fans
then he does a speech in front of an empty turf.
Yeah, and all Burnley fans come running from their houses, all down to dive on him. Pile on. But yeah, I've digressed again, but I think that's pretty much it. We've got 45 minutes out of that, mate. Considering that at first there was children sitting on your knee. So apologies if you are watching this on YouTube. You might see some dodgy cuts because I can't just put the random music in the middle of that bit. So you might see some dodgy cuts, but that's why. And if you're listening on the podcast and you're like, well, I've not heard anything, that's because on audio I'm perfect at it. But video is a bit more difficult. So sorry. But we are doing a watch along this week. Actually, I just want to say we are doing a watch
text
along.
message there or something.
No, I was going to wrap up. But I've just remembered we're doing the watch along. So we're doing the watch along on Sunday. The game starts at what time? Is it 3? Is it 4? Let's just have a look on the BBC website. The game against Brighton on Sunday starts at 4 o'clock. There you go. It starts at 4 o'clock. So the watch along will be live around 10 to 4. Simon Townley, are you available?
Should be, yeah. Don't say well. I can't think of anything that's got planned, but I'll let you know near the time.
There you go. You're on record now, mate, and this is going to be out tonight, so people know. People tune into the watch along and just see me there on my lonesome. They're going to be like, well, Simon's letting him down. He said yes the other day. And they will get a bit of an insight into my life as a Turfcast host.
Last question for you then.
Go on.
This has come out. I want you to tell me so the fans can listen to this. Did Wigan survive?
Did Wigan survive?
Yeah.
What do you mean? Why Wigan?
Have you not heard the drama today? Right, forget that one then. I'll fill you in on that. Who went up?
Who went up?
Just tonight.
Oh, it does, doesn't it? Baggies. They've got QPR at home. They'll beat Baggies. They'll beat QPR.
And then who sneaks in playoffs? Anyway.
Who sneaks in the playoffs? I'm not.
Swansea can make it.
Sure. Let's just have a quick look at the league table then, because I need to have a look at the league table that who's playing. So Swansea can sneak into it. That's it. It's Swansea or Cardiff, man. Imagine if Swansea get in there instead of Cardiff. So Cardiff have got Hull City at home. That's a win. Forest have got Stoke City at home. That's a win. Unlucky Swansea, you're going to miss out. Cardiff and Forest will get in there.
Fair enough. No worries. I see.
Right, Wigan then. Fill me in. In fact, don't fill me in. I've wrapped up. We're wrapping up. No one wants to know about fucking Wigan on Turfcast podcast. But that's it from me. If you don't already, please follow us on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, and especially YouTube. If you haven't subscribed already, please go and do. I know a lot of you do already, so thank you for that. But we are just a few people away from the 100 subscribers, and I haven't told Simon this yet, but I have also told people that when we do get 100 subscribers, me and Simon will do like a live feed, a live Q&A maybe, or a live watch along of an old game where you watch us questions or whatever. Who knows? But Simon knows now anyway, so there you go. But thank you for listening, thank you for watching,
no problem.
Thank you for downloading, and thank you to you, Mr. Townley, for coming on.
Thank you very much.
And we will see you on Sunday for the watch along, and the podcast will be back. Might not be next Thursday, but it will be back at some point next week because we're going to do a season review. Thank you, and we'll see you then. Bye-bye.